Hey YouTubers, welcome to my channel, Andrea René Abroad, where I talk about Peace Corps, travel, and working abroad. If you are new to this channel, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. It's so good to have all of you here. I'm a returned Peace Corps volunteer who served in Nicaragua from August of 2016 to April of 2018. And I'm currently coming up on the 4th month of living and working in Australia as an au pair for a family with 3 young children. Over the course of my time here as an au pair, I've made a whole bunch of different videos about my experience of being an au pair and different tips and recommendations for you all who are interested in becoming an au pair yourself, as it is a really great way to work abroad and travel long term. While I have been here, I have been doing lots of Instagram stories on my days off so that you all can see a little bit of Melbourne, Australia. So if you haven't checked out my Instagram, I highly recommend that you hop on over there if you are interested in more vlog-like content. Now here on YouTube, I have made 2 videos on day trips that I have taken here from Melbourne that I recommend for you all. I have already made one on the Great Ocean Road as well as the gold mining town of Ballarat. And today I am making you all a video on a recent trip that I took to a famous national park here in Australia in the state of Victoria called the Grampians. The Grampians are located 2.5 hours outside of the city of Melbourne and are made up of over 400,000 acres of wilderness bush, as the Australians would say. So I wanted to do a video for you all about my experience and trip to the Grampians, as well as do a review on the company that I did the tour with, which is called Fun Addicts, which I have put a link below in the description if at the end of this video you decide that you would like to do a tour with them. I am not receiving any sort of benefit or money from Fun Addicts, just to clear that up. I am simply just giving them a review and providing you all with a really good option for a day trip while you are here in Melbourne. So I initially found out about the Grampians National Park through this awesome Lonely Planet guidebook that I have been using while I have been here in Australia. It has given me all the ideas for all the places that I have visited thus far. The Grampians was mentioned as one of the top 12 places to visit here in the state of Victoria, where Melbourne is located, so I knew that I needed to check it out while I was here. For a while, I had already been keeping my eyes open on the different websites and touring companies here in Melbourne, and when Black Friday came along, Fun Addicts posted on their Facebook page that they had 20% off all tours. So I decided to purchase not only the Grampians, but 2 other tours, which I will be doing later this month, and then doing review videos for you all on. So that would be my first tip if you are interested in doing day trips while you are here in Melbourne, is to check out the Facebook pages of the different touring companies that are here in Melbourne, as they may be posting different discounts or sales on days such as Black Friday. I totally lucked out and was able to book this tour for $50 Australian, which comes out to only $36 USD. So obviously it's way cheaper that I did the Grampians with a tour bus than it would have been if I wanted to rent a car and do it all by myself. So if you're debating whether or not to rent a car to go to the Grampians, I would say definitely check out the different tour groups that are based here in Melbourne first. As I said before, the Grampians themselves are located 2.5 hours outside of Melbourne, which is quite a long distance, but as a returned Peace Corps volunteer, if any of you are Peace Corps volunteers listening out there, you probably know that we are quite used to super long bus rides. So if 2.5 hours is totally doable for you, then you can definitely do the Grampians while you visit Melbourne. So our first stop was an hour and a half outside of Melbourne in the gold mining town of BEAUFORT. I don't think I'm pronouncing that correctly, so I have written it here for you all to see. What was interesting about this stop is that when I first purchased my ticket with Fun Addicts, they said that I should bring all my own food, as none of the stops would have any food, but this gold mining city did have plenty of restaurants, as well as an IGA quick grocery shopping place where the different people that were on the tour with me bought food there. I pretty much just had a look around and took a picture of their famous clock tower while I was there. It was just a pit stop, and I had the opportunity to use the bathroom there as well, as I had already been on the road for an hour and a half. After about 30 minutes in BEAUFORT, we then continued on our way for an additional hour, I would say, to get to the Grampians. In the Grampians, our first stop was the BOROKA Lookout, which offered a beautiful view of a distant lake in a valley. And for those of you who have been to Nicaragua, this lake actually reminded me a little bit of the Laguna de Apoyo, which is in the department of Masaya. So if any of you have been to Nicaragua, maybe you can kind of see the similarities between these two. Although this lake from BOROKA Lookout was not a volcano to my understanding. So there was two different lookout points here. We were only at this lookout for about 30 minutes. Again, there was a bathroom available for those who needed to use the bathroom, but if you were running low on water, there was no drinking water at this station. So that is something to be cognizant about if you're going to the Grampians, is to bring plenty of water. The next destination that we went to was MACKENZIE Falls, and here we stayed for a full hour and a half, and also were given the opportunity to eat our lunch here. At MACKENZIE Falls, it was just absolutely beautiful. There was a large waterfall and then a trail that went along the river from which the MACKENZIE Falls came from. There are a ton of stairs at MACKENZIE Falls, so if you either have young children or if you are a senior citizen, do be aware of the fact that MACKENZIE Falls has a ton of stairs and could be difficult for people who are at either end of the age spectrum or are differently abled. Here at MACKENZIE Falls, I enjoyed my lunch peacefully on a rock a little bit further up trail because the falls themselves were absolutely packed with tourists. So if you are not really into hanging out with a bunch of tourists, just continue walking further past the MACKENZIE Falls and it will get quieter and quieter the farther you get away from the falls, and there won't be as many tourists. After an hour and a half at MACKENZIE Falls, we then took off for the Reeds Lookout. We spent a full hour over here. It was a bit of a hike to get to the destination, and it was totally worth it. Really beautiful views of the Yarra Valley and a few other lookouts where I was able to take some photos and get a little bit of exercise. After an hour at Reeds Lookout, it was about 4 o'clock, and so we headed over to Hall's Gap. Unfortunately, it was a very hot day when we went to Hall's Gap, so we were not able to see any of the kangaroos, but some of the people in the group did hike farther into the bush. I didn't want to because there was a lot of private property in the area and I just felt a little bit apprehensive about walking onto people's gardens, but some of the people who hiked further in were able to see some kangaroos, which I'm imagining would have been really cool. So I didn't see any, but for those of you who go on a cooler day, apparently there are usually kangaroos right there in Hall's Gap, and you can pretty much guarantee to see one. You're not supposed to feed them or touch them, obviously, because they are wild animals. So that was our last stop in the Grampians, and I haven't mentioned it yet, but the drive to the Grampians as well as the drive back home was absolutely beautiful. I am fairly certain that I saw 2 emus off in the distance, which was really cool. So really great views, really great scenes, but because you will spend so much time on the road, I definitely recommend that you have some podcasts or audiobooks or music downloaded onto your phone so that you have something to entertain yourself with. After that, we drove for about 2 hours back towards Melbourne and made a pit stop at a gasoline station where there was a burger bar and a KFC. I totally lucked out because they did have a vegan burger option there, so if you are vegetarian or vegan, they did have those options at this pit stop for dinner. So I was really glad about that because I've talked about on this channel before about how I really do strive to be vegan and plant-based, but sometimes it is a little bit difficult when I am traveling and I get really hungry. After 30 minutes for dinner, we headed back to Melbourne and we got back to the CBD, the Central Business District, at about 8:30 p.m. So it was a pretty long day because our bus did initially depart at 8:30 a.m. and we got back at 8:30 p.m. So obviously that was a full 12-hour day. When I got home, I was absolutely exhausted, particularly from the stairs at MACKENZIE Falls, even though I am a person who is active and goes to the gym. So just keep that in mind. You probably will be pretty tired after going to the Grampians, but It is absolutely worth it. I feel like the views were totally stunning. And as I said before, if you are interested in more vlog-like content and would like to see different day trips that I do in live time, I highly recommend that you check me out on Instagram, as I am always vlogging on there my daily trips, including my trip to the Grampians. But if you missed out, you can always check out my highlights to see past trips that I have done here in the state of Victoria here in Australia. I hope that you found this video interesting and informative. Again, the touring company that I traveled with was Fun Addicts. Very affordable, really good experience, quality charter bus. I totally would recommend them to you all. So definitely be sure to check them out. If you found this video useful, please like, and if you would like to receive more content from me, I would love for you to subscribe to this channel. Again, this channel is on Peace Corps travel and working abroad. And if you have any ideas for future videos, please be sure to comment below or send me a DM on Instagram. Thank you so much all. I will see you next week.